As the Buddha said, we could be thinking skillful thoughts all day. There would be nothing harmful aside from the fact that it would wear out your mind. When the mind gets worn out, you know what happens? You start thinking unskillful things. So, give the mind a place to rest. We're talking about concentration. Some people complain about that translation for samadhi. It sounds too tense, too tight, but it requires some tension to begin with, because the mind is going to be pulling in different directions, and you've got to pull back. So keep on top of your mind right here, right now. Give it one thing to do, which is then backed up by a second thing. The one thing to do is just pay attention to the breath. And the second thing is to keep watch over your mind, to make sure that it does stay with the breath. You've got to check things. You can't trust that just because you tell the mind to stay with the breath, it's going to stay. This quality of watching yourself, it's called metacognition, M-E-T-A, one T. And it's an important part of the practice, your ability to observe what you're doing. It starts from the very beginning with the precepts. There's that sutta where the Buddha is talking to the Kalamas, who have at that point have not taken refuge in any particular teacher. And they tell them, we hear some teachers basically pulling the feathers out of another teacher, and then that other teacher comes and pulls the feathers out of the first teacher. In other words, they criticize them, saying that X is right, no, X is wrong. So what do? The Buddha says you put things to the test. First you look around and see what do the wise recommend. And then you take the course that the wise people recommend and you put it into practice and see how it goes. This, of course, requires that you be really good at observing yourself, what you actually do, and the results you actually get. I mean, the New York Times will print articles by people who say, well, I tried meditation and it doesn't work. But they don't vet the people to see, well, how seriously did you try it? What kind of meditation did you try? And how reliable are you? So what the media have to say is can't be trusted. You've got to learn how to be trustworthy yourself so that you can watch yourself clearly, fairly. And then you don't just watch yourself, then you decide if something is wrong, something's not going well, then you make adjustments. It starts out with the precepts, moves into concentration, and goes into discernment. You can gain insights into Four Noble Truths, the 5 aggregates, 3 perceptions. But the question is, how do you apply that knowledge? You can learn about it in the books, and you can say, yeah, the Buddha is right. But how right is he? How far does that rightness go? That depends on your powers of observation as you commit yourself to the practice and then reflect on the results. As the Buddha said, it's these two qualities together that nourish the Dhamma. You try to do it as best you can, and then you reflect on the results to see if they're good enough. And if it's not good enough, what can you do to change what you did? So you have to be on top of your practice. You have to be the person who judges how well this is going, because after all, this is your suffering that you're trying to overcome. It's not suffering in the abstract. There's no outside test that you can take and cram for. Something you have to become sensitive to within yourself. Is your practice good enough? And how high are your standards? How much do you really care about the issue of suffering? All this is something you have to review. You have to watch yourself carefully. And the better your powers of alertness, mindfulness, ardency, the more likely you are to find something that's really good. And if you become a good judge of your actions and their results, then you'll know that it's good. That's how you become your own refuge.